humans by default want to build dynasties. And because of that desire, your natural kind of draw is to build a bigger and bigger team in a holding
Yep.
company, hire more people, more accountants, more lawyers, more biz dev people, et cetera, et cetera. And he says, he almost always repeats, it's just something you have to fight with every kind of bone in your body, because everybody in your company is going to want to do it, right? People want to move up in the org. They want to manage more people. They think managing more people means kind of progressing in your career further. And when we started our company, we started as a centralized holding company where we were going to offer services to our companies and bill those services to the individual businesses. And we were having some trouble with it, and we couldn't figure out really what was going on with it. Like, CEOs weren't really appreciating our services, and like we couldn't figure out how to bill for it. And only then did I read Mark Leonard's papers where he says, we tried this, it's impossible. Therefore, we like cut the team, and now we just run a very lean holding company. And that's exactly what we did. You know, we cut down to the bone. We just left our investment professionals and a couple support people. I'm curious what your holding company, which is, you know, the Girdley holding company, I guess, what does it look like? Like, what is the staff structure? What is the team? And how do you think about centralizing services?
I am very much in the church of radical decentralization. So, I try not to do it. And I think a lot of that is because I'm not that great of an operator. Like we talked about, kind of the grind it out, optimize stuff, focus on repetitive tasks. Like I don't like those things. So I tend to try to figure out ways to avoid doing them. And a lot of those things feel like work. Like my annual thing that just feels very painful to do is like CEO and employee reviews. Like it just feels like a grind. Just like a total grind. So that's like the extent of like centralized services.
That's you reviewing the CEOs and then some employees as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, we got to talk
Like
about that in a minute.
it sucks.
Yeah.
If any of my team has watched this, I'm not enjoying it when I have to do it. But it feels very rote, right? And feels like not a creative exercise in the least. So, coming from that church of radical decentralization, I agree with Mark's conclusions, right? That's just the way, I gravitate towards not to doing the Musk thing where it's like, okay, let's take the engine and figure out how many parts we can get out of it and have it run even better. And, have addition by subtraction in that way. So, my mindset is still very much focused on a very lean HQ. The HQ is me and one employee. So chief of staff, she and I do everything. And then there's fractional folks for consolidated financials and occasionally for bringing in legal and stuff like that. But by and large, we're a team of two, and I don't see anything change in that way. I think as things get bigger, I could see hiring somebody who would be very operationally focused and do a lot of this operational stuff and operational excellence, and could be deployed into companies as needed. But I don't intend to go much further than that. It wouldn't be fun.
Wow, you are super lean. So, for example, when you hired a head of content, you consider that person not part of the holding company, but they're part of their own entity somehow?
Yeah. So my media company, we set it up as its own company. So
Mhm.
it's a fully owned subsidiary. And then it is not a service provider. It has business relationships both inside the HoldCo and outside the HoldCo for other folks. And it's a team of 7 as of this point, including editors and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they have their own P&L, and it sounds like they also have their own outside customers that are not just the Girdley enterprise.
Outside customers, bank accounts, its own partners, its own CEO.
Cool. And what are like, how do you set targets with that CEO? And how, like, yeah, I guess, how do you set targets, and then like how does that interface with like your personal goals for your content and media?
Yeah. Once they come, so there's in an incubation phase, there's kind of, let's say 3 phases, right? There's pre-idea, pre-revenue, and you're kind of figuring stuff out, right? So we're after that for the media business. Then there's the kind of adolescent phase where for as a media company or a business in general that's being incubated, you're still trying to figure out what the bigger vision is. Like your model isn't finalized, but you're making revenue, you're profitable, and all that kind of stuff. And in that phase, it tends to be a very collaborative effort in terms of setting targets and goals, because we're still trying to figure out what the vision is. Like, where are we going to go? What's our final business model going to be? We're running lots of experiments. So that's where we are right now. Like, we'll set our 2025 goals together, and I'll have input on them. They just had their planning session here in San Antonio last week, and I went and spent time with them. The whole team was here. And then eventually a company will reach a point where the business model is finalized, it's mature, we know what's going on. And that's where it will be much more of a formal board relationship with them, where the CEO will run through his team based on our shared vision for the whole business and our goals, and then come back and say, okay, here's my financial goals for the year, here's how we're going to get there, strategic plan, all that kind of stuff. So for where the media business is, it's very much still in that collaborative, we're trying to figure it out kind of phase.